for joining us today for another exciting round of this championship season. We're on the French Riviera once more this weekend at the 2-mile-long Circuit de Monaco. The cars climb around 40 metres up through Beau Rivage, onto the casino, and then descending down towards the harbour through Sector 2. It's a very short run from pole position to the first of the 19 corners here. 7 to the left and 11 to the right. There's one single DRS zone as well, so don't expect that to make overtaking any easier today. So as we look ahead to what I hope will be a very entertaining race, I have to ask Anthony Davidson what you expect to see in terms of strategy today. I mean, do you expect a lot of tyre management, a lot of fuel management?
Well, don't we always? I don't expect these are going to be any more important than usual, if I'm honest. But what I do expect, however, are a lot of drivers getting into the pits early for some kind of undercut on fresh rubber. If you can pit before the person in front, have a good stop and drive a blistering outlap, there may be 1 or 2 seconds to be gained. If anyone gets stuck behind another car, for example, that will be the go-to strategy, surely.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Alonso, Kimi Raikkonen and Vettel. They've taken a grid penalty. Perez, Magnussen, Hulkenberg and Charles Leclerc. Gasly, Sainz, Romain Grosjean and Van Dorn, Ericsson, Hartley, Sergei Sirotkin and Lance Stroll, Ocon. And Max Verstappen completes the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Here we are in Monaco. It's 5 red lights, and it's lights and away we go. A long wait for the lights to go out. Ricciardo gets a lot of wheel spin off the line. Hamilton gets a good start. Bottas on the inside of Ricciardo. Hamilton takes the lead. It's a Mercedes 1-3 as Alonso and Vettel are going side by side. Here they go up the hill. It's Vettel and Alonso side by side. Kimi and Perez side by side. Vettel's down the around the outside. I think that's Vettel. Sorry, no, that's Kimi. Kimi was side by side with Alonso. Alonso had a stunning qualifying. Vettel's around the outside of the Racing Point. They're still side by side. Down the inside goes Sergio Perez. Vettel's still on the inside. They're still side by side. Vettel makes the move into the hairpin. What a crazy side-by-side through the entire first sector between those two. Vettel actually put it on pole yesterday, but he got a 5-place grid penalty for a collision on Verstappen. Could never put in a good lap, and he's starting down in P20. As Ricciardo is still on the back of Hamilton there. Can Ricciardo overtake him? It's going to be very difficult now for the rest of this race to try and keep up and overtake Lewis. He was very close in qualifying. Here comes Fernando Alonso, who did a stunning job in qualifying. He was way up there. I believe he qualified in P4. And of course Vettel did out-qualify him, but he got that penalty. Really screwed him over. It has to be said, Sergio Perez in that Force India did a great job in qualifying to out-qualify both Renaults, who seem to have a better chassis, at least based off previous races this season, than the Force India. And surprisingly, Gasly's relatively high. I believe he is in the points. And Stoffel Van Dorn is in like P15 here, when his teammate is in P4. That is very disappointing for him, as Max Verstappen is still in last place after a horrendous qualifying yesterday, as his teammate is up in second. Gap between the Red Bulls is real. Here comes Hamilton flying through the tunnel. Down the hill into the braking zone. Clipping every apex. Looks like Hamilton is pulling away a little bit from Ricciardo here. He is really pulling away from Ricciardo. That Red Bull doesn't look as good as I think we were expecting it. And Mercedes, has to be said, we're expected to be the worst car here. So here they go through Rascasse. Vettel all over the back of Alonso, but it's going to be very difficult to overtake him here in Monaco. He is in the quicker car. Can he get past Fernando? And there's Hulkenberg behind Perez. It's going to be difficult for him to get past. Pretty much, it looks like it's going to be a train here in Monaco, unless some people start to really go for it. Really surprised Perez is in front of the Renault. And Haas there, I believe that's Magnussen, is doing relatively well, as is Charles Leclerc, who is almost in the points. If not, he is in the points. And Esteban Ocon got screwed in qualifying as well because he is down in P18. Very unfortunate while his teammate is battling up in 6th place. Great job if Perez can hold off Hulkenberg and take P6. Here we are flying through swimming pools. Ricardo, or maybe that was swimming pool. I'm not very good with the corner names here in Monaco. Through Rascas they go. Up the hill, DRS is active, but Alonso actually, I believe, yes, he does have DRS from Kimi in front, and that's amazing that Fernando is able to keep up with Bottas and Kimi up in front of him in what seems to be a much slower car. Fernando Alonso on board with him now. It's brilliant driving here in Monaco. Did take pole position a couple times here. Back in the mid-2000s. Here in 2018, looks like he's gonna hold off Vettel at the moment for P4. Let's see if Vettel can overtake him at some point in this race. Vettel's championship is not going too well at the moment. I believe he's already a race win behind Lewis Hamilton. If not, he will be very soon by the looks of things. As Hamilton does look like he's gonna win this race. Unless Daniel Ricciardo can absolutely go for it, but as you can see, Ricciardo has lost a lot of time to Hamilton here. He's really struggling with the tires. But he is keeping the gap to Bottas relatively steady. It's not like he's created a massive train here, so I'm not entirely sure. Looks like Hamilton's just really doing a good job here in Monaco. On board with Kimi, Alonso, then Vettel as we go on board with the rest of the drivers. Leclerc is in front of Grosjean. Disappointing from Roman in the Haas. Should really be beating Leclerc. And Verstappen is still down there in last place here in Monaco. On board with Lewis there through the hairpin. He is really pushing in this opening stint now. Ricciardo struggling for pace here. He's really struggling for pace, as Bottas is closing down to him. Ricciardo trying to get out of that slipstream, so Bottas can't try any kind of dive bombs into the hairpin. As you can see, Hamilton's really pulled from Ricciardo here. Flying through there. Brilliant. Up through Rascas. Here's Alonso still holding Vettel off, and Alonso's coming to the pits. Alonso's going for an early pit stop here. Oh, as is Hamilton, and I believe Ricciardo has pit as well. No. I believe Ricciardo stayed out. That is very surprising if he did. Into the pits goes Nico Hulkenberg, I believe, with Sergio Perez. Kind of weird if Hulkenberg would have wanted to go for an undercut or an overcut to possibly overtake Perez. But anyways, here comes Alonso. He's going to come out side by side with Max Verstappen. He's going to come out right behind Verstappen. But that's amazing. Alonso has already pulled nearly a pit stop on Max Verstappen in a car that's pretty quick. So unfortunately, Max just can't do anything here. He's just stuck behind this Williams because he doesn't have the straight line speed to overtake him. And it seems like, and it looks like Ocon just doesn't have the cornering speed to really make these moves, because Perez is almost a full pit stop in front of Ocon now. Very disappointing from Max and Esteban, the two young drivers. They are very quick, and they have been very quick throughout the season, but this race has just not been great for them. As you can see with this beautiful helicopter shot, Fernando Alonso flying through the chicane. He's clearly faster than Max on the fresh tires. As you can see, into the pits goes Kevin Magnussen. It's going to be hard to keep track of everyone as Vettel's getting held in the pits. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo, I think, in the pits. Yes, it is. He's coming out the pits now. Hamilton's already overtaken him, but he's going to be on slightly fresher tires. Let's see what the Red Bull can do on these ultra soft tires. Maybe they will be quicker than the Mercedes. We will have to wait to find out. It is a pretty big gap if Ricciardo wants to close this up to Hamilton. Here they go through downhill. Looks like he loses the back end a little bit. There's Ricciardo nice and close to the wall. Through the hairpin, nice and slow goes Hamilton. Down the hill. Followed by Sirotkin, who's holding Bottas up big time here, and Alonso. But what's interesting here is that I don't believe Kimi is pit. I believe he's going for the overcut, and I think he's going to be able to overcut Bottas here. Bottas can't pass Sirotkin. That's Max Verstappen. I think he has made a couple of overtakes here. Yes, he has in the pit stop phase. That's good for him. He's made a couple places up, but it's going to be difficult to make any more up because there are no more stops for the rest of this race unless he damages his car. In that case, he'll be last anyways. He's flying through the tunnel, down the hill, into the chicane. Can he catch Esteban Ocon? I imagine he will, but overtaking him is going to be damn near impossible. Disappointing performance from Verstappen. Doesn't look like he's actually pushing that hard, to be honest. That could just be the way that he's driving at the moment. Here he goes. It looks like that is Kevin Magnussen in front of Nico Hülkenberg, who's just in front of Sainz. So Magnussen has made up a place in the pits. Oh wait, is Sainz in front of Hülkenberg? It is hard to tell. I believe he is. That would be very impressive if Sainz could have overtaken Hülkenberg in the pit stop phase, and very unfortunate for Hülkenberg, who's trying to get best of the rest here in the championship and is really struggling to beat his former teammate Sergio Perez and now his own teammate Carlos Sainz. CNC Ricciardo really cutting those corners a bit harder than Verstappen was. Here we are with Kimi Räikkönen. He is some ways behind Ricciardo, who is catching Hamilton. Is he going to catch him by the end of this race? It's going to be very difficult. As you can see, he's overcut Bottas by a mile there as Kimi. Alonso is just kind of on his own. He's losing a bit of time to Bottas now, as Perez is doing a great job. He's pulled a bit of a gap to Magnussen now. Grosjean has overtaken Charles Leclerc in his home Grand Prix, as Verstappen has caught up to Ocon because Ocon got stuck behind Sirotkin. Well, Lance Stroll is down in last at what is arguably his worst track on the calendar. Go down the straight, braking for turn one again. You can see Verstappen just isn't close enough to make any kind of overtake on Esteban Ocon without damaging either one of their cars. Down the hill goes Verstappen. He's a bit too far back to make any kind of overtake. As we move up, yes, Sainz is in front of Hülkenberg for sure. As Perez is kind of on his own at the moment. Alonso goes very close to the wall there. See, flipping through the different onboard cameras. Hamilton is losing a bit of time to Ricciardo here. He's definitely losing time to Ricciardo. Daniel is the quickest guy on track at the moment. He's having to back off through the final corner there, as you can see. That Red Bull does look a bit unstable here in Monaco, surprisingly enough. The worry for Ricciardo really will be, will those tires be able to make it to the end while still pushing as hard as he is, as Alonso continues to hold off Vettel. I don't know how Vettel's going to pass him, but he's going to have to find a way to pass him if he wants to get those extra 2 points in the championship. They go down the hill. Is he going to be able to make a move here? I highly doubt it, and no, Vettel does not go for it. He's a bit too far back on Alonso, and Alonso's been defending brilliantly. He's handling the pressure brilliantly as he usually does, and he's slower than Bottas, but he is somewhat catching up. And Sergio Perez is very much there. He is not too far behind Vettel and Alonso, so he's definitely caught up in that pit stop phase, as well as being incredibly quick in this race, despite being in a car that has a relatively average chassis. Looks like Force India might have made some upgrades coming into this weekend. But yeah, definitely Bottas is pulling from Alonso. But Alonso, will he be able to hold off Vettel? It's going to be a big challenge from him. He's got the worst straight line speed on the grid. Straight line speed isn't very important here in Monaco. They go through Raskas now through the final corner. Clipping those apexes nicely. Vettel's got the DRS. Is he going to be able to do something on Fernando Alonso? He's a bit too far back again. He doesn't want to send it and ruin his race there. because he can still take a nice 10 points. It's going to have to be a clean, easy move if he does want to overtake Alonso without risking losing all 10 of his championship points at the moment. Because, of course, Hamilton is in the lead of the race as they go down the hill, coming into the hairpin. You can see Alonso's definitely losing a bit of time to Bottas, but not too much. And it looks like he's also losing a bit of time to Perez. Yes, he's definitely losing time to Perez. It looks like Alonso is really struggling to keep Vettel behind, perhaps driving a little bit differently and more defensively to hold off Vettel. As you can see, Vettel closes up a lot coming into the braking zone, but not enough to make an overtake. Fernando's still doing a great job up in 4th place, going to take 12 points for the team today if things stay the way they are. But of course, this is Monaco and anything can happen. As you go nice going through Raskas. You can see Perez is definitely catching up. He's really pushing now. I would have thought Hülkenberg would have been on the back of Perez, but Perez seems to be chasing down Sebastian Vettel. You can see Vettel opens up the DRS, but again, he's too far back. He just can't get a good enough exit out the final corner. Alonso's just nailing that final corner, getting the best possible exit, as Ricciardo is just about keeping that gap steady to Hamilton now. Looks like his tires are not holding on as well as maybe he would have wanted them to. Hamilton seems to be saving his tires very well, but will it be enough to win this race? As you can see, Bottas is still pulling away from Alonso, but not by very much. It is not by as much as I think most of us would expect. As you can see, going through the tunnel, Vettel's a bit too far behind Fernando. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to make any kind of overtaking attempt here. And that beautiful orange McLaren. And no, he is not, as they go through the chicane. Perez continues to close down that gap. As you can see, going through Raskas now, Alonso continues to hold off Vettel. Does make me wonder, Vettel is really struggling to get past Fernando if he is even going to be able to overtake Fernando at any point this race. Fly through turn 1. Nicely done from Fernando to hold off Vettel at the moment. The two old rivals from their Ferrari and Red Bull days have met again on track. Of course, Vettel should probably be in front of him, but of course that penalty really screwed his race over. And Alonso's just able to get these really good exits out of these low speed corners that go onto long straights. Well, relatively long straights here for Monaco standards. And it just means that Vettel can't get close enough. Look at how late he brakes there, but it's not good enough. Can't overtake Fernando. He continues to hold him off, flying through the high-speed chicane. Perez is struggling to catch up now. Looks like Alonso's starting to find his pace, starting to find his groove, because he's actually pulling from Vettel. He pulled a bit from Vettel that lap. Looks like Vettel can't push the car as hard anymore because he spent too many laps right behind Fernando. And now he's having to back off a little. Down the hill, nearly hits the wall. Does Fernando as they go again more back down the hill. Coming into the hairpin once again. Vettel, there's just nothing he can do about this. Now, as they accelerate through the tunnel, Vettel is still on the back of Alonso. And he's a bit too far back now to make any kind of move. Alonso just gets such a good run out of that final... sorry, not out of the final corner, out of the corner right before the tunnel, which I forgot the name of. We are on board with Danny Rick at the moment, going nice close to those walls. Kimi Räikkönen is hunting him down. He's closing up that gap now, because Ricciardo seems to be struggling on his tires now. It seems that he's not catching Hamilton anymore. He's really struggling on those tires now. He's just he was very quick. He was catching Lewis, and then really dropped off. It looks like he might have pushed a bit too hard. And actually, surprisingly enough, although Fernando Alonso isn't He is somewhat far from Bottas, but he's not that far behind given his car, and he's actually doing a very good job. I mean, he's doing a great job keeping Vettel behind. And here he goes. He continues to hunt down. Well, sorry. I mean, he is keeping the gap pretty steady to Bottas, given that that McLaren. Now here we go. Bottas nice and close to those walls. Maybe not pushing it as much as some of the other drivers have throughout the weekend. We are with Vettel now. Again, just a bit too far back. It's pretty much the best overtaking zone there for coming out of the tunnel beautifully. Going down the hill through the chicane on the exit on this very cool camera angle. They go through the quick left-hander, through the chicane, down through swimming pool. Doesn't hit the wall, nice and close to it. And he's still stuck behind Alonso. Rask has another overtaking opportunity, as we've seen from Jules Bianchi back in 2014. Brilliant overtake and a brilliant drop to put that car up into points. Truly a brilliant driver, who left us a little too soon. But anyways, here we are with Vettel now. He's not able to overtake in Rask, at least not at the moment. And yes, I do struggle a little bit with the corner names with this track, but anyways, Vettel seems to be struggling to get past Fernando as they go down the hill into the hairpin. A nice and tight hairpin. That McLaren seems to be pretty good through the hairpin because it has a relatively short wheelbase, a shorter wheelbase than the Ferrari, that's for sure, and it's allowing Alonso to really push through the hairpin and pull just enough of a gap so that Vettel can't make any kind of overtakes into the chicane. Right here, and it's obviously very frustrating for Vettel. He actually put the car on pole position, but due to a penalty, dropped down 5 places, and this is a huge blow in his championship, which is already not going too well. After of course, the issues in Bahrain and a few other issues throughout the season, and some races where Lewis was just outright quicker. He took his first race win of the season last time out in Spain. It doesn't look like he's going to be winning this race because he's still stuck behind Fernando, and the race is past its halfway stage. His best chance would have been in the pits, but of course that did not work out. Here he goes down the hill, just a bit too far back. Beautifully going down the hill, both cars going around the bump so that they don't lose too much time on it. And as you can see, Bottas isn't that much further up ahead of Alonso. I mean, he's some ways up, but he's not that far. And actually, Sergio Perez, I believe, is relatively close to Vettel. So Alonso is leading that midfield, of course, and he's up in a brilliant P4. If any of the top 3 have any kind of issues, he could be on for a podium position, which would be a brilliant result. And 2 of them taking very similar lines through the chicane. But yeah, Sergio Perez doing a very good job in the Force India, which was it didn't seem like that was going to be the quickest car this weekend. It looked like it was actually, well, in the midfield, I mean, looked like the Renault-powered cars, like the McLaren and the Renault, of course, were going to be a bit stronger because this track doesn't depend on power. But Perez has put in a stunning drive to put that car up into 6th place. And of course, Verstappen, way down the field, he hasn't been able to make too many overtakes because of how difficult it is to overtake at this track. And it's been very challenging afternoon for him after his crash in qualifying the day before. It's meant that he started down in last place. We are still watching these 2, Bottas going through there, and as you can see, Kimi Räikkönen has closed down the gap to Ricciardo. Ricciardo might actually have an issue with his car. I'm not sure if he does, but he is really struggling at the moment for pace. It might just be issues with tire wear because Kimi seems to have been much smoother and much. He obviously saved his tires much more than Ricciardo did, but now Ricciardo is going to have to defend from Kimi. But it is Monaco, so it's not impossible to defend, but Kimi does have a big straight line advantage over Daniel, and Daniel might make a little mistake on those worn tires. He had to pit before everyone, of course, in an attempt to get an undercut. Now they go up the hill, and as you can see, they go through the quick left-hander Ricardo actually looked like he might have made a mistake there, as it looked like he might have turned in too early and of course didn't want to clip his tire, and of course because then it would have come off. And now look at that, Kimi's all over the back of him. Ricardo's tires are completely gone. They pit him way too early and he pushed way too hard. Too early, and Kimi, of course, very good at tire saving, and that Ferrari has also been very good on its tires. We saw it Spain especially, and Ricardo lost the back end there. That's going to give Kimi Räikkönen a chance. Now they go down here. Ricardo has to go defensive. Kimi Räikkönen comes around the outside. It doesn't work out. Ricardo breaks a little bit later, and Ricardo holds the position. Incredible racing between these two drivers for second place. Ricardo still holding second place very nicely here. The Red Bulls were expected to be a little bit stronger this weekend. I was expecting them to go for pole position and the race win, but Lewis Hamilton has put in a brilliant drive today, and he's beating his teammate by over 10 seconds. So it's been a brilliant drive from Lewis Hamilton today here in Monaco. Let's go quickly through the right-hander up the hill, and then back down. Ricardo, bit of a wider entry into this corner, but it looks like he might have missed the apex there. It's hard to see with the mirror in the way. Ricardo's giving it everything, and he loses the back end again. Look at this. He nearly hits the wall there. Nearly hits the wall on the outside. He's sliding everywhere. He can't keep the car under control. Not sure what's going on with Ricardo. Usually he's pretty good at tire saving, but it looks like he just pushed too hard. I think the team did tell him to push. But here comes Kimi Räikkönen back for round 2. Is he going to be able to make it work? Not quite. Ricardo places his car very nicely there, so Kimi Räikkönen can't make a final lap overtake as they go here. Bottas seems to be catching him. Ricardo's pace at the end of this race has been horrendous, but he's defended very nicely from Kimi Räikkönen. Here on the final lap, they're flying through the chicane. Nearly hits the wall there, does Ricardo. That could have been race ending. Lewis Hamilton comes across the line. He wins here in Monaco in 2018. Lewis Hamilton wins the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix. Brilliant drive from him. Here comes Ricardo to take second place.
Get in there, Lewis. Absolutely perfect weekend. Absolutely perfect.
I love you guys. I love driving the car. I love this track. I'm so happy, man. I'm so appreciate everything you've done for me. Thank you so much, guys.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. And the credit to the driver as well, though. There's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It's a good result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
I'm going to say Carlos Sainz. It was probably one of his best drives this season, and I was thoroughly impressed.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Mercedes have extended their lead at the top of the standings. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today, as they make their way up the standings.